I'm pleased to announce the Honor Guard for the presentation of the colors. Now for the national anthem, Mark Shelton. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Please be seated. Good morning, I'm Dale Crook. I'm the Director of Field Services. The Vermont Department of Corrections Reward and Recognition serves to highlight the excellence that exists within all areas and job functions across the department. We have approximately 1,100 staff, and today we honor 29 for excellence, service, valor, and life-saving, and 34 for reaching milestones of longevity. But these are just numbers. What's important is the story behind the numbers. It's how our staff and you here today have assisted the citizens of Vermont, keeping our community safe, supporting and protecting your fellow officers, and to help the DOC accomplish its mission. There are a few acknowledgments that we need to make today for this award to have happened. Everyone for showing up, thank you. Without you, we would not have this event. We also support and want to thank the families that show us support and allow us to do the jobs that we do. The Commissioner for supporting this event, and Director D'Agostino for finding the money to put it on. Also the nominators to find time to recognize your coworkers and colleagues for excellence in service for this department. We'd also like to thank Mark Shelton, great job singing, Ross Farnsworth, who's on camera, Jan Hogue, Barb Hagan, and Christy Hessel for all the hard work in putting on this event. And we'd also like to thank Heather Simons. Those of you who've been here before know that I am not Heather Simons, and I am playing the role of Heather Simons today. This is the first R&R event she's missed in 24 years. She had another commitment that she could not get out of, and she truly wanted to be here. This is one of her most favorite events with the department. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Commissioner Lisa Menard from the Vermont Department of Corrections. Thank you.
Just for the record, it is Menard. I'm not going to take a lot of time. I send you all regular emails. I just want to reiterate what I hope I have captured in those emails, and that is how very proud I am to be where I am, again, still today, particularly today, in looking at some of the extraordinary things you've all done throughout the year. And it's not just the life-saving, the valor, although those are obviously very important. It's what you do every single day. It's the small things to make sure everyone is fed, to make sure everyone gets their sick call slips in, to make sure offenders in the field get the support, supervision, mentoring. It's what you do every day that culminates in today. I am honored to be able to introduce the governor. The governor, throughout his various roles, even before he was the governor, has been very supportive of this department. He clearly believes in the rehabilitation of offenders, and he is well aware of the difficulty of your jobs. Each time we've had a serious event, the governor has been notified, and without fail, he has asked how our staff, to include following up oftentimes the next day to ask again how our staff, or to pass on, you did a good job. So with that, I'm honored to present Governor Phil Scott.
Well, thank you very much. Really an honor for me to be here. First of all, before we begin, I wanted to acknowledge the fact that this is probably the first event I've ever been to when Elvis has sang the national anthem. So thank you very much, Mark. Really appreciate that. I'll remember it for a long time. As well, today is the acknowledgement of D-Day, the anniversary date of D-Day. And I just wanted to take a moment because I'm sure there are some of you here that have served in the military in a previous life or currently serving in National Guard. So if anybody here has served in the military previously or is currently serving, could you please stand up? Thank you very much for your service. Really appreciate it. Well, it really is nice to be here. I'm proud to be here and stand with all of you today in my short time in office. I've been beyond impressed with your level of competence, your compassion, and your integrity. You might not hear it enough, so I want to tell you how grateful I am for all you do and your commitment to your work and to your state, and it doesn't go unnoticed. Over the last few months, some of you have been involved in the prisoner hostage takeovers and other very unfortunate incidents. But each and every time, you rise to the challenge and handle it with such valor and professionalism. I also want to acknowledge Secretary Gobet and Commissioner Menard for their work. And when those events happen, they're usually on the phone to us to keep us informed. And they really, and Commissioner Menard and Secretary Gobet in particular have expressed they kept us updated as to what was happening, and as well followed through the next day to make sure that we were informed. So I want to thank you both for your leadership and truly caring about the DOC employees for your work. So with that, I'm going to read a proclamation, and you'll have to excuse, this is in legislative speak. There's a lot of whereases in this, so we do that up there. Whereas one of the primary goals for the state of Vermont is to provide its citizens with an effective justice system that focuses on the quality of life and safety for all citizens. And whereas Vermont's dedicated correctional employees are essential to the justice system, and whereas much is expected from the men and women who every day supervise offenders in correctional facilities and in the community, and without whose daily hard work and sacrifices would not operate. And whereas correctional employees are skilled professionals who must act as counselors, communicators, educators, and experts at crisis interventions, and must protect our safety while maintaining their professional demeanor, often in a challenging environment. And whereas correctional employees must possess the intuitive sense to resolve conflict and support restorative activities while housing offenders in a humane environment or supervising offenders in the community. And whereas the state of Vermont is pleased to celebrate Correctional Employees Week and is urging all citizens to pay special tribute to these women and men who serve so faithfully. Now therefore, I, Philip B. Scott, Governor, do hereby proclaim June 5th, 2017 as Correctional Employees Week in Vermont. Thank you very much. I'm going to sign this now. And with that, I'll give it to Commissioner Menard, and with the pen.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Commissioner Menard. Okay.
Some
thank
days
you.
I'd like to think.
Now, it's my pleasure to introduce the Secretary of the Agency of Human Services, Al Gobay.
Good morning. I have a question for all of you, and that is, what road brought you to where you are today? Some of you today will receive awards for 40 years of service to the state of Vermont. Some of you will win awards for valor and life-saving activities. And some of you, as Commissioner Menard stated so eloquently, will receive awards just for the day-to-day of taking care of the folks that you take care of. But the question I ask is, how did you get here? For me, it started when I was a kid and I was asked to play football at Norwich University. I didn't really know that it was a military school. I wish someone told me to be truthful, I was a little bit of a troubled kid, and military school was probably what I needed. And when I went there, I heard words that I'd never heard before. Words like duty, honor, country, and service. But I'll be really candid in that they didn't mean that much to me in those years at Norwich, because I was a kid. I became a lieutenant and I served 3 years on active duty in Germany. And in my time in Germany, the wall came down. How many of you remember that? We're here to see that? Or I'll tell you that when the wall came down, I was probably 25 minutes from East Germany, where I lived in an apartment. And to see the people streaming across the border, grown men, literally in tears, women, kids, crying because they were seeing freedom for the first time. It's at that moment that I understood what service was about. I hadn't done anything in Germany. I drank beer and I ate bratwurst. I'm just being straight. But the people that had come before me had set the table for that momentous moment to happen. And so it's with that lens that I think about service. It's why I wanted to be on the Green Mountain Care Board. It's why, when asked I unequivocally said I would want to be the secretary. It's because the people in this room know, no matter how tough you are, no matter what uniform you wear, there's something inside of all of you that it just resonates with this service thing. And it did with me, and I've tried to do it pretty much throughout my adult life. I can't believe how well all of you do it. Every time I've received a phone call about somebody to do with corrections, I will tell you that 3 things have occurred. One is, you've been straight with me. The second is, you are so professional. And the third is, you care. And that's just so amazing for the state of Vermont to have all of you. It's so important for all of you to be able to rely on each other and to be there for one another. And so in a way that I can't fully express, I want you to know that I appreciate you. I think the governor coming today is an amazing statement about this administration and what we think of your role and your mission and how critical it is. And so when you leave here today, hopefully with awards and praise and love, know that I personally appreciate everything that you do. And thank you.
Good morning. That's going to be tough to follow. Again, as Governor Scott had said, and I had it on my agenda too, I want to extend a thank you to all of our active and former military service members. I think any opportunity we can take to acknowledge their bravery and their courage, we should do so. And so again, thank you for that. Before we begin actually doing the awards, just a couple of quick statements. Today we get to celebrate specific incidents, specific teams for the work that they've done. But at the same time, we have staff that do incredible work every day. And oftentimes that work either prevents incidents for the Medals of Valor or Life Preservation Awards, or teamwork or managers or supervisors who do incredible work on a daily basis that make this department arguably the best in the country. NIC continues to point to Vermont as being a leader in corrections. That says an awful lot about not only our innovative abilities, but our professionalism and dedication to the mission that we have. And it's a contribution by all employees that make that success. So while we honor a few of you today, it's really a team effort. And so most of these awards, I would say, bring these back to your teams and share them likewise. Secondly, thank you to all the family members and friends who are here as well. Without you, these jobs would be incredibly difficult. The support that you provide to your loved ones and friends means everything. This can be an incredibly difficult job, and having you there to support them means an awful lot, not only to them, but to us as well. So with that, I'd like to go right into the presentations, and we are going to begin. I'll just let a couple of people come up first. And as I call your name, I'm going to call your name first. If you would please just come up so we can keep things moving. And as you come up, I'll read a little bit of something about you. So we are going to begin with the Manager of the Year, which goes to Chris Goldstein, the VTIPSA Program Chief. Chris has demonstrated a commitment and passion to supporting the VTIPSA program through its transition from from Windsor to Northwest State. She has constantly supported contracted service staff and DOC staff in increasing the familiarity with the intersection of case management duties and clinical intervention with a high-profile population. Her consistent presence at the facility and availability have supported casework and intervention staff in assuring that the additional responsibilities of the Sex Offender Review Committee's high-risk referral, law enforcement notifications, and consistent case and program reviews are conducted in a timely and accurate manner. Thank you, Chris. Nice work. Supervisor of the Year, Kevin Jenkins, SOS at Southern State Correctional Facility. Thank you, Dale. SOS Jenkins is solution-oriented, always approaching issues in a calm, reasonable, and respectful manner. He exemplifies a demeanor and professionalism that correctional staff would strive for. He has worked to develop professional contacts within the community and actively engages as a member of the Southern State Correctional Facility Management Team. Jenkins is a lead representative to speak when they visit the prison. His commitment to the staff and a high standard for personal conduct have earned the respect and trust of all ranks from whom he works. They told me my mouth was going to get dry. They were right. Supervisor of the Year, Lisa Trout. Program Supervisor from Brattleboro Probation and Parole. At times, the relationships between facility and field can be somewhat tenuous. Nah. This can't be said when it comes to the relationship between Brattleboro, P&P, and Southern State. Much of this is because of Lisa Trout. With Lisa, you always know where she stands. I think that's pretty true, Lisa. She's reliable and honest. She's very knowledgeable in the practice of risk assessments. She clearly understands the interventions available to the inmates and helps reduce recidivism. She is solution-oriented, open to trying new ideas, and focuses on the needs of the individual. Lisa provides superb support to both the facility caseworkers and field caseworkers. She has outstanding communication skills and is always responsive to staff. She cares a great deal about the victims, as shown in her restorative and reparative work in the community, and she works closely with the Brattleboro Justice Center dealing with COSAs and reentry issues. Nice work, Lisa. Thank you. Correctional Officer of the Year, Jeff Cobb, CCO, Burlington Probation and Parole. Jeff demonstrates strong leadership abilities with the many duties for which he is responsible. Jeff is one of the department's experts on electronic monitoring. He is the go-to guy in the department if someone needs any equipment or any issues or questions around EM. Jeff has been called upon at a moment's notice to testify during this past legislative session, as well as being interviewed by local news regarding our EM processes. Jeff's day-to-day duties involve constant interaction with many Burlington offenders, victims, and fellow staff. Jeff treats everyone fairly while showing true patience, care, and compassion with all of those with whom he comes into contact with. Jeff's work is guided by a deep sense of purpose and treats every person he works with an exceptionally kind and professional manner. Nice work, Jeff. Correctional Officer of the Year, Ken Swain, Southern State Correctional Facility. CO2 Swain operates within the facility as the intel officer at Southern State. Within this role, Swain regularly intercepts plans by inmates for contraband introduction, violations of no contact orders, witness tampering, amongst many others. He works with the state's attorneys and Vermont State Police to provide information on criminal activities and criminal violations of both incarcerated individuals and citizens who inmates correspond with. I'm just going to go off script very, very quickly and say, and I mentioned this to Officer Swain earlier too, his work has truly had a deep impact on not only the facility safety, but community safety as well. His diligent efforts to really dig through and make sure that we understand what's happening with our population and how it may affect victims in the community has been incredibly powerful and very influential to our law enforcement agencies in the state of Vermont. Ken, thank you so much. Correction Service Specialist of the Year, Mindy Windrow, CSS2 at St. Johnsbury Probation and Parole. Mindy has been at the St. Johnsbury PP for 10 years. Oh, they called you out on that, Mindy. I'm sorry. She is regarded as an outstanding employee. She is consistent and meticulous in the supervision that she provides to offenders. Mindy is respected by her coworkers and is often sought after for advice. She's an asset and a contributor to the greater quality of the PSIs that are produced by St. Johnsbury. Mindy has established positive and collaborative relationships with the community that allows offenders accountability and manages the risks posed by offenders. She assists POs and members of the community to partner and effectively establish and facilitate the case planning process. Mindy is responsible, committed, and has strong integrity, judgment, creativity, enthusiasm, and compassion. Correction Service Specialist of the Year, Christine Leslie, CSS2 at Burlington Probation and Parole. They called you out too. Chris has worked at Burlington Probation and Parole for 15 years. New initiatives re-energize her, and she is an amazing community collaborator. She currently is the RISE liaison supervising the men who transition from jail to RISE. Facility caseworkers know to reach out to her if they are working with an inmate who could benefit from the RISE program. For the past 8 months, Chris has participated in a monthly transitional housing reentry meeting. Her knowledge of the available resident-run sober housing networks in the community is invaluable. She continues to advocate with the reentry group to support transitional sober housing for sex offenders. Recently, Chris has been very involved in one of the department's newest initiatives, EPICS. After going through the initial training, Chris showed interest and enthusiasm and was selected to join the second set of DOC trainers to train the department in the EPICS program. Thank you, Chris. Nice work. Administrative Support Service Employee of the Year, Jean Dusty. Is she here? Oh, there she is. So again, I'm going to go off script. You'll never see this lady never smile. She's always smiling, and even if you're having a horrendous day, she'll bring your day around a little bit quicker by her smile. So we want to thank you for that. For nearly a year's time, the business office has been experiencing a shortage of staff due to promotions of former employees. Jean has been an integral part of the daily functions during these transition periods. She has taken on the workload of 3 people at times, learned new skills that are above and beyond her normal call of duty, helped shape the way for our process work, and train new staff as they come on board. She has done so with a positive, team player, can-do attitude, all the while keeping up with her regular daily tasks. Thank you, Jean. Support Services Employee of the Year, Benjamin Morley, Recreation Coordinator at St. Johnsbury Correctional Facility. Often we recognize somebody for the role in some extraordinary event in which they played a role, but fail to recognize the everyday work of an employee who has so much to offer on a daily basis. This is so true of when I think of Benjamin Morley. Ben has been employed with the department for approximately 26 months. Although his job title is Recreation Coordinator, his services to the complex and the department in general goes way above his job description. He has demonstrated from day one that he is a leader, a team leader, a role model among his peers, a true professional. He has taken the initiative to practice and learn the role of security and has volunteered to act in the capacity to reduce overtime hours. Ben has developed recreational programs that are used throughout the state. His Fall into Fitness and Spring into Fitness programs offer inmate different challenges in their personal fitness goals. The program measures the inmate's abilities before the 6 weeks of fitness activities and then again at the end. Ben has also incorporated more healthy eating choices into the recreation prize options. He's developed and run groups called Focus. This group concentrates on healthy nutrition and personal fitness goals. One of the newer responsibilities is the facility leisure library. The transition from education to recreation was very smooth and running efficiently. The barbering program was also spearheaded by Ben about a year ago and is now a well-oiled machine. One of the most drastic changes that Ben has incorporated into the facility culture is to allow the inmate recreation representatives to run the unit tournaments so that they have some responsibility and buy-in into the program. Thank you for all of your work. Support Services Employee of the Year, David Bovat, Central Office. In his role as reentry coordinator, Dave has been instrumental in supporting the work of Recidivism Reduction Grant, or the SRR grant in particular, the pilot in Central Vermont. He has been tasked with compiling the data collection needed to evaluate the pilot. David has become fluent in the intricacies of Excel spreadsheets, probably beyond the point he had ever desired. He has consistently had positive attitude in meetings. His long and diverse background in the department has been invaluable to implementing the grant specs and in understanding the intricate processes and figuring out how best to serve the population, meeting the goals of the department, and fulfilling the grant requirements. David brings a quiet kindness to interactions coupled with an openness to different viewpoints, to questions and new ideas. Thank you, Dave. Community Service Award, Think Team from St. Johnsbury Probation and Parole. Deb Brown, Trevor Roy, and Ann Cosgrove. In the fall of 2008, Crystal Connolly, a St. Johnsbury Academy senior, approached St. Johnsbury PMP asking for collaboration and partnership with her capstone project. After losing her father to a drunk driver, Crystal pitched an aggressive plan to put the brakes on alcohol-related tragedies. Her capstone project proposed that the Academy establish an alcohol awareness curriculum and health class for all incoming freshmen. Using Crystal's vision of the curriculum, she, along with PO Deb Brown, PO Trevor Roy, and VSS Cosgrove, and another PO who has since retired, developed the program. The program was introduced at the St. Johnsbury Academy faculty who favorably instituted the program as part of the health class. 8 years later, the Think program continues to be offered biannually and is mandatory for all incoming freshmen. This program has served hundreds of young adults from St. Johnsbury and in the surrounding areas. Thank you and good work. Corrections Team of the Year, Special Response Team, SRT, who are represented by each of the facility's local team leaders. Jody Barrier, Mike Miller, Dan Williams, Bob Arkley, Ed Zucri, Gary Garrow, and Casey Leahy. This team was charged with ensuring capacity to respond to and control dangerous situations in correctional facilities, any hour of the day or night. In addition to routine high-risk assignments, the teams they oversee have responded to four significant incidents this past year: a staff hostage, an inmate holding himself hostage, and a multi-inmate disturbance. In each case, they were critical in supporting a successful resolution that resulted in the rescue of hostages, preserved the safety of staff and inmates involved, prevented or minimized property damage, and restored order without notable injury despite armed resistance. Over the past couple of years, the SRT teams have been reorganized. As a direct result of the commitment and dedication of all the SRT members, this reorganization has been fast, fluid, and effective. SRTs, while still developing their capacity, have risen to the challenge of developing and training their units. They stand ready and prepared to respond rapidly to any situation that may unfold at a correctional facility. They are ready to report and respond to neighboring facilities to support tactical responses at other facilities. The growth and aptitude of these teams have exponentially improved over the past couple of years, and it's a direct result of the commitment of all the team members. Thank you all for your excellent work. We're going to move on to the Preservation of Life Awards. Daniel Whitmore, Chittenden Regional Correctional Facility. On July 16, 2016, CO1 Dan Whitmore took action to assist an inmate in medical distress. Whitmore was supervising the dining hall when an inmate began to signal when they were in medical distress. The inmate was choking on a piece of chicken blocking their airway. CO1 Whitmore quickly approached the inmate and performed the Heimlich maneuver, dislodging the food and allowing the inmate to breathe freely. Good job. Ken Cooper, Southern State Correctional Facility. CO2 Cooper was conducting a tour of the Southern State Correctional Facility admissions when returning from a transport. CO2 Cooper looked into the admission cell 1 and observed an inmate actively attempting to hang himself with a ripped-up pair of boxer shorts. As another officer on the scene radioed for responders, CO2 Cooper entered the cell and intervened. Removing the boxer shorts from the inmate's neck, CO2 Cooper then assisted facility medical staff with life-saving measures. Patrick Stube, Marble Valley Regional Correctional Facility. Now, if I got your last name wrong, you need to let me know. Is he here? He's not here. Did I get his last name wrong? Damn. I apologize, Stubby. Accepting the award on his behalf will be SOS Webster. November 11, 2016, while conducting rounds, CO1 Stubby observed an inmate laying on his back with his head against the door. The officer was unable to see the inmate's face. When he knocked on the door, he received no response. He observed a shoelace tied around the neck of the inmate and immediately radioed for responders, who then entered the cell. He removed the ligature and the inmate was able to resume breathing. A suicide note was located at the scene. Officer Stubby's observations and immediate response prevented the inmate from suffering serious injury and/or death. William Delaney and James Elwood, Southern State Correctional Facility. On October 13th, 2016, CO1 Delaney and CO2 Elwood removed a bedsheet from the neck of an inmate in restrictive housing after discovering the inmate hanging himself. They entered the cell and utilized a cut-down tool to remove the bedsheet from the inmate's neck and immediately began providing life-saving measures. Stephen Riendow and James Elwood. You can just come right back. Southern State Correctional Facility. On December 27th, 2016, Shift Supervisor Riendow and CO2 Elwood responded to the Bravo unit for an inmate who has engaged in serious self-harm behavior by cutting a major artery in his own arm. Supervisor Riendow and CO2 Elwood entered the inmate's cell and began to provide immediate life-saving actions by immobilizing the arm, placing direct pressure on the self-inflicted wound. These actions effectively slowed the significant blood loss until medical assistance arrived. Donald Nelson, Northern State Correctional Facility. On April 16, 2017, CO1 Nelson observed an inmate jumping on the hand railing from the second tier and suspended himself by his knees. CO1 Nelson ran up to the tier, gained control of the inmate, and pulled the inmate back over the railing. While being escorted to the medical, the inmate stated that he did, in fact, wanted to hurt himself or kill himself. CO2, sorry. Thank you. Don Shaw and Doug Hayden, Hartford Probation and Parole. On December 31st, 2016, while off-duty PO Shaw received a phone call at his home from law enforcement indicating that a probationer had threatened suicide and harm to his family. His whereabouts were unknown. P.O. Shaw called CCO Hayden, who was also off-duty, requesting that he meet at the office to review the offender's GPS monitor to determine where they might find him. The offender was located on a dead-end street in Montpelier. Police were notified and responded to the scene, and along with Shaw and Hayden. The offender was located in the vehicle. The offender was believed to have been armed. This led to a standoff in sub-freezing conditions for about 6 hours before VSP SWAT tactical team was able to safely remove the individual from the vehicle. The offender was near death as he had attempted suicide by taking a large number of pills. The offender was placed on life support and after several weeks of hospital care survived. If DOC staff had not responded promptly, this individual would not have been located and or has survived. Medal of Valor Awards. Bruce Nappy, Southern State Correctional Facility. Shift Supervisor Nappy was stabbed twice in the abdomen and twice in the arm by an inmate in restrictive housing on January 29, 2017. The inmate utilized a makeshift weapon that he had pulled from the sweatshirt. Even after being stabbed multiple times, Supervisor Nappy continued to assist other staff in maintaining control of the inmate while the inmate was secured in hardware. Gina Payette, Northeast Correctional Facility, St. Johnsbury. On February 10th, 2017, St. Johnsbury had a unit disturbance in Charlie Unit. CO2 Payette was a senior officer in the unit at the time, along with TCO Kyle Lovelace, who had only been out of the academy for a couple of days. Her actions that evening were extremely courageous, as both officers were almost taken hostage during the incident, and she was assaulted twice during the incident. CO2 Payette acted bravely and courageously during this incident. Given the severity of the incident, it would have been easy for an officer to lose focus or get the deer in the headlights look that we often talk about. CO2 Payette was able to maintain her composure, even though she knew there was an imminent personal threat to both her and her new officers' lives. Had she not maintained her composure and put her own safety aside, it's highly possible that TCO Lovelace would have been severely hurt or taken hostage. Because she was able to give a good, clear direction to the inmates, she was able to get several more inmates to comply and lock in. This also resulted in less inmates involved in the disturbance and less overall damage to the unit. Once she and TCO Lovelace were safely out of the unit, she continued to assist as needed. She maintained her composure the entire time, ensuring the information was correctly logged and the information was correctly passed up the chain. By doing this, she helped first responders and SRT able to focus their attentions on taking the unit back. Now we come to the anniversaries of state service. With 20 years this year, and what we'll do is we'll call you up and then just come up and receive your awards, and we'll take a photo as a group. 20 years with the state of Vermont: Todd Blanchard, James Blodgett, Daniel Bro, Michael Charbonneau, Dane Cooley, Kathy Curavu, Dale, is it Crook? Yeah. It is Crook, okay. Sally Jo Gagne, Courtney Gorley, John Howe, Jeff Leggio, Dana Lesperance, Timothy Mahoney, Alan Monier, Matthew Nault, Douglas Oliver, Donald Vignet, and Michael Williams. In case you're wondering, this group represents 360 years of state service.
I can't see Dana. One side of can't see me, I can't see you.
25 years of state service: Cullen Bullard, Nick Burnham, Edward Cole, Michael Doheny, John Dooling, Maureen McIntyre, Matthew Olmsted, and Nora Quinn. This group represents 200 years of state service. 40-year anniversaries. Chris Hammett, Dave Jankowski, Sue Ransom Kelly, Mark Shelton, and John Cook. And apologies, John Cook's name didn't make it onto the brochure, so apologies, John. This small group represents 150 years of state service. Years of state service. Rick Bates, Tammy Kennison, and David Turner. That's 105 years of state service right there. That's a lot.
Wait a minute. This is fraud. Thank you. You did it all.
I'm sure I gotta be okay.
I think we're almost lost.
Years of state service, Rosemary Aronson. Maybe she retired? We'll gladly accept that award on her behalf. That's the conclusion of the official award ceremony. We are expecting to have the meals brought in momentarily. Thank you once again, everybody, for being here and being a part of this special day.
You could ask them to pick up plaques so people don't know.
Oh, yes. Are you going to do that?
And the honor guard can remove the colors.
Okay. Oh, yes. Yep. So a couple final notes here. For people that were not able to be here today to accept their awards, if somebody from their office or facility could pick that up for them and bring that back and deliver it to them, that would be great. Again, special thanks to the governor, the secretary, and deputy secretary who all made time for us today in recognizing the hard work that our staff engage in every day. It's a pleasure and an honor to have you here today.